Good morning, students. Today I am discussing about physical education, section A. What? Games and sports, psychological and social benefits. So first of all, we will know what meaning of games and sports. What meaning of games and sports? So look, students, first of all, most of people consider games and sports to be one and the same. Most of people consider games and sports to be one and the same. Understood? And however, games and sports are different to certain extent. But however, games and sports are different to certain extent. Usually, a game involves more than one person. Carefully listen. What? Games. Usually, games are involves more than one person, whereas sports what pertains to only an individual's skills and performance. Understood? So some persons hold the people that sports is carried out under an agreed set of rules. What? Some persons hold the view that sports is carried out under an agreed set of rules. So this calls sports. And it is also related to recreational purpose, either for self enjoyment or competitions, for both. What? It is related to recreational purpose, either for self enjoyment or competition, or for both. So this is called games. It is related means games is related to recreational purpose, either for self enjoyment or competition, or both. But in sports, it is the sportsman or the individual who determines the outcomes, and in the games, an individual skills or performance. Understood? So though is important does not count much, and it is only the coordination and team spirit that leads the game. So now look, in sports also a sports person or athlete can take independent decisions, whereas a player cannot take such independent decisions in a game. So, like, what happened is, there in sports a sports person or athlete can take independent decisions. Therefore, whereas a player cannot take such independent decision in the game. Understood? And decision in the game is taken collectively by the players involved. Decision is in the game is taken collectively by the players involved. The following, what? There are some important definitions of games and sports may help to understand the clear-cut meaning of these two terms. So look, according to Dex, what? According to Kate Salin. So according to Kate Salin, what is the games? Look, according to Kate Salin and Eric Zimmerman, what is the games, or define the games? A game is the system. What? A game is the system in which players, carefully listen, according to Kate Salin and Eric Zimmerman, a game is a system in which players engage in an artificial conflict. What? A game is a system. A game is a system in which players engage in an artificial conflict defined by rules that result in a quantifiable outcome. So this is a game. Again, listen what I told you. According to Kate Salin and Eric Zimmerman, a game is a system in which players engage in an artificial conflict defined by rules that results in a quantifiable outcome. And look, according to Gerg Costikian. Costikian. According to Girl Costikian, what a game is a formation or form of art in which participants termed players make decisions in order to manage resources through game taken in a pursuit of the goal. What? According to Girl Costikian, a game is a form of art in which participants term players make decisions in order to manage resources through game taken in a pursuit of a goal. Understood? And according to Clark C, what is the game? According to Clark C, a game is the activity among two or more independent decision makers seeking to achieve their objectives in some limiting context. What? According to Clark C, a game is an activity among two or more independent decisions makers seeking to achieve their objectives in some limiting context. And according to Kevin J. Maroney, what? According to Kevin J. Maroney, a game is a form of play with goals and structure. Very useful word. What? A game is a form of play with goals and structure. A game is a form of play with goals and structure. So look, students, above the definitions, according to the above definitions, what or conclusions, it can be said that the game is a recreational activity involving one or more players. What? Game is a recreational activity involving one or more players defined by a goal that the players try to reach and some set of rules to play it. So what is games? When anyone tell us what is games? Games is a recreational activity involving one or more players defined by a goal that a players try to reach and some set of rules to play it. So now look, students, what is the sports? According to various experts. What is the sports? Definitions of sports. According to Luschain. What? According to Luschain. What is sports? So, what is sports? Sports is an institutionalized type of competitive physical activity located on a continuum between play and world. Understood? What? According to Luschain, sports is an institutionalized type of competitive physical activity located a continuum between play and world. Understood? So this is a sports. And according to Nixon and Frey, F-R-E-Y, Frey. According to Nixon and Frey, what they told us, sports is an institutionalized physical competition. Look, Lucien told us sports is an institutionalized type of competitive physical activity that located on a continuum between play and world. But according to Nixon and Frey, sports is an institutionalized physical competition occurring in a formally organized or corporate structure. What? Sports is an institutionalized physical competition occurring in a formally organized or corporate structure. Understood? So now look, student, Joy Coakley. According to Joy Coakley, what is sports? Joy Coakley defines sports as institutionalized competitive activities that involve rigorous physical exertion or the use of relatively complex physical skills by participants motivated by internal or external factors. So what is sports according to Joy Coakley? Institutionalized competitive activities that involves rigorous physical exertions or the use of relatively complex physical skills by participants motivated by internal or external factors. So look students, above the definitions. From above the definition we say that sports is an athlete activity. So sports is an athlete activity requiring skills or physical power and it's competitive in nature. So what is sports? Sports is an athlete activity requiring skills or physical power and is competitive in nature like racing, boxing, tennis, golf, wrestling, etc. It can also be arrived that sports is a physical activity carried out under an agreed set of rules. What? Sports is a physical activity carried out under an agreed set of rules with a recreational purpose also. So for competition or self-enjoyment or a combination of these. So these are all about meaning of games and sports. There are various experts. They are given us definitions of games and sports. So next day I will discuss with you difference between games and sports. What difference between games and sports, and also I will discuss with you what benefits of sports and games of psychological and sociological. Okay, what are the benefits of sociological and psychological benefits about games and sports? Okay, so today's this is all. Carefully listen my voice and study at your home. Okay, thank you students.